All right, today's lesson is a start on some of the more intermediate to advanced lighting that we're going to do. So um, this lesson will be pretty quick. We're going to be setting up a new map that you're going to save, and it's going to contain samples of light that you'll be able to go back and reference throughout the year as we make these different maps. So today we're going to add a point light, which you've already done. We're going to add an effect to the point light, and then I'm going to show you a basic spotlight. And then as we go on throughout the year, we'll be reopening this map and adding additional lighting effects to it. So first step I want you to do is I want you to create a brand new map. So you can use the great big hollow box like I showed you before. You can just create a box. We'll go File, New. We've got a brand new map here. Take a box, go ahead and just create it. Press Enter. There's my box. I'm going to select it, right click on it, make hollow. Make hollow, you can also use negative numbers and it builds the walls outwards if you've got your dimensions set up just right. Either way, doesn't matter. I'm doing a -8 on this. I hit enter and it creates a nice big hollow box for me. Right? On the inside of this box, we're going to add a player start. Remember the info player start. And let me find the map I'm working on here. This one. Alright, so here's my big empty box. I've got an entity info player start, my Gordon. And then I want you to build kind of like just a really simple structure like what I've got here. It's just some walls with some little partitions between them. And we're going to use each of these little like horse stall looking things to do different samples of light so that as we go through the lessons, we'll add additional lights to this. And then as we're making our games, if you're trying to remember, well, how did we make that entity that had a glow to it, or how did we do a flickering light, you can come to this map and this will be like our lighting effects samples or references for you to go back to. So this is going to be a new map. I want you to save it as like, I called this one lighting, but whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be returning to this map with each new type of light that we learn. So you're going to have this really nice map set up that's got all the different lighting effects on it for you to go back and look at. All right, so we create an empty box, hollow box. We put a player start on the inside. And then I want you to create this little kind of like stall, horse stall, whatever, barn stall, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I just built this out of just blocks, nothing spectacular. I don't even care how big they are, just big enough for the player to kind of walk into. All right? So pause the video, do those steps, come back, and we'll look at the first couple of lights that we're going to do. All right, so in stall number 1, we are going to put just a standard point light. So to do that, we go to our entity tool. We come over here to object. We type in light. And it's just the very first one. It's the basic light. And it gives you this light bulb. Now, one thing that people do that's kind of a mistake with lights is they will put the light right up against the wall. And what that does is it creates this really ugly, bright, hot spot on the wall. Like it's glaring bright against the wall. So normally you want to pull that light away from the wall a little bit. And even if your light source is up close to it, you want to pull your light entity away from it a little bit, just because it'll look more realistic. If you've got the light right against the wall, and you've probably seen it on your map, it creates this incredibly bright circle of really intense light on the wall. So I recommend pulling these light entities away from the surface a little bit, kind of float them in the space where you want the light to be. Right? Now, review of how to set this thing, if we double click it, naming, you should only name a light if you intend to flip a switch on it or something. Otherwise, do not name the light. It creates extra information in your light map file, and it'll slow down your compile time. So only name lights if you intend on switching that light at some point throughout the game. Now, brightness, this one here. So this is where we set the color, RGB, the first three numbers, and then the brightness, which is the last number here, the 200. So if I click pick color, it gives me a pretty standard color picker here. And then also this number at the end, the 200, is the brightness. So 200 is really bright. I would dial that back to about 100 and start from there. Kind of work your way forward or backward from there. In your map, do not use 255, 255, 255. That's pure white, and pure white lights don't exist. I'll have a link in the assignment to a website that shows some color values for some more realistic real-world lighting. But on your map, we don't want to use pure white. It doesn't really exist, and we don't see pure white lights in a lot of environments. So we want to avoid it in our games as well. Now for the demo here, I just left it as pure white, but in our actual games, we're not going to leave them as pure white. Now this next number here, the brightness HDR, what this is for is if you need to change the color of the light when HDR lighting is set. So high dynamic range HDR lighting is a lighting effect that gives you like glow, and it also does like makes it like your eyes are adapting to the darkness and the brightness and stuff like that. So if you have a light that's too bright in HDR, you would set this value so it's different than the standard lighting, which is the one above it. Most of the time you can just leave it and the HDR lighting will get its numbers from here. So this is only if you notice a problem when you have HDR lighting set. The HDR scale is if we need to dial this light back. If it's too bright when HDR is enabled, again, we can roll this number back and turn the light down a little bit. But most of the time you don't need to do anything. The regular brightness and color values will work. Right? So we're going to click apply on that light. So that's your basic everyday point light. Probably the most common light you're going to have on your map. Now, install number one. I want you to put a single point light. Regular point light, any color you want. No special effects on it though. Just a single point light. Stall number two. Same type of thing. It's just a point light. But on this one, I want you to click where it says appearance, and you're going to notice this little drop down menu. So these are preset values for different types of flickering effects that the light can have. So there's fluorescence, and there's pulsating, and there's candles and fires. So when I show you guys how to do a fire, this is one of the things we would use to create a flickery effect. So for this one, stall number two, box number two on your map here, I want you to choose one of the flicker effects, any one you want, or appearance effects, I guess. So I'm going to do like slow pulse, no black. I'm going to click apply, and what that does is it creates a pulsating light that never actually goes to full darkness. So let me pull up my map and you can see what that looks like. Okay, so see here's stall number one. This is that basic light, normal point light. Now notice I have it pulled away from the wall, so I don't have that crazy intense light spot on the wall. Now this one is a little bit closer to the wall, and you can kind of see the hot spot up there on the ceiling. There's kind of a bright spot, but you can see that flicker effect as well. That one, I think that looks pretty good as like a fluorescent light that's starting to burn out. Alright, install number three, your third point light, or third light I guess, is your spotlight entity. So we add this by going to our entity tool. We come over here, and it is called a light underscore spot. It's a pretty simple light. When you put it in, it's going to have this look right here. It's going to be kind of this greenish color, looks like this, and then it's got this cone of light around it. When you click on it, or double click it, it's not a whole lot different than a regular point light. Again, name, we don't want to name it unless we're going to do something with it later on. Brightness, it sets up exactly the same as a regular light. The RGB values are the first three, and then the brightness is the fourth number. Same thing with your brightness HDR and your brightness scale. These are set if you need to change the light because it doesn't look right when you have HDR enabled. It has the same appearance settings. The main difference with this one is we have some lighting angles here that we can play with. So your spotlight has two cones of light. It's got an inner cone and an outer cone. And the area between those is called the penumbra, and it's where the light kind of fades from brightness to darkness. It's that gray area as the light fades out. So we set those two values, and then the lighting will create its own penumbra in between those and then fade off into this really nice, cool spotlight effect. The inner angle, this one here, is represented by this darker gray cone, and then the outer angle is this one right here. So this is going to be pretty much like your full brightness area, and then this area out here is the penumbra area, which is where the lighting is going to go from brightness to darkness. So if we look at a spotlight here, you can kind of see this faded area right along here. This is that outer angle, and then right in this area here, this is where my inner angle's at. So if you want a wider fade, you would just simply set the outer angle wider. The default is 30-degree cone in the center and a 45 on the outside. If you want a narrower beam, you would just simply narrow those numbers down. Do like a 20 and a 30, or a 10 and a 15 or something like that. But that is your basic spotlight. Nothing, it's directional, whereas a point light is omnidirectional. It goes in all directions. Your spotlight shines in a single direction. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stop there, and your assignment for today is to create this level with all of these little empty stalls. In stall number 1 is a standard point light. Stall number 2 is going to be a point light with a flickering effect or an appearance effect. Any one, your choice. Stall number 3 is going to be just a regular old spotlight. No, nothing messed up on it or anything. You can play around with the angles a little bit if you want to. I put an entity up top, and then, but that's it. So your assignment for today is point light with effect, basic spotlight. And then what we'll do is we will fill up these additional stalls with different types of lights. So like you can see my next stall over, I have like a glow effect set up on my entity, or my prop up here, my prop static, the light. So I've got this light here. So the next thing I'll teach you with lights is how to add kind of the little glow effect to it, so you can see the glow of the light. Alright, so that is your assignment. Once you finish, give me a screenshot, or a video would be awesome. But if you don't know how to do a video, for the video, just a nice view like this would be awesome, so I could see your flickering light. If you don't know how to do a video, or you don't have the capabilities of doing a video, what I would like you to do is give me a nice little screenshot of your map, and I would like to have the values of this light right here, the one with the appearance. I would like that opened up so I can see your appearance right here. So if you do a video, I want to see the flickering light. If you don't do a video and you just do a screenshot, give me this screenshot right here where it shows me your point light. This shows me your flickering light, and then I'll be able to see your spotlight because the shape of it is different. Okay? Once you're done with that, just continue working on your existing map, your DLC map that we're making. And that is it for today. Save this map,